see. So
And we're live. We're live.
okay, Jim probably usually chairs it. Is he not on this? Okay, so hey, Leif.
Yes,
So Jim isn't on the meeting, which would make you the next seniority person. Would you mind chairing this?
well, I could try. It's a little more difficult remotely, but happy to try.
Yeah, well, no one's actually like here, so everyone on this meeting except city staff is actually remote.
Okay, okay, I'll do my best here.
Thank you.
So, I'm trying to get to a computer so I can see what's going on with the agenda a little more clearly.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do a roll call.
You call the
Or
meeting.
first, I guess we have to call the meeting to order. All right, well, we're gonna call the meeting to order. And then we'll get moving. Is there, what else do I need to do here to call things to order?
That's it. You called it to order, so now roll call can occur. And after roll call, even though typically no one's here online, you still have to call for public comment. It's like a state rule now. But first we'll do roll call.
Okay, let's do the roll call. Would you mind calling off the names?
Member Bissell,
Present.
member Bicknell,
Present.
member Engels,
Present.
and member Green and Fry have asked to be excused.
Okay.
We have a quorum.
Great. Okay, I guess I'm supposed to call for public comment if there is any. Do we have any public comment?
We did not receive any, and there are no attendees.
All right. Well, then let's move on to the consent agenda. So moving to, we're trying to approve the agenda for January 27. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
We have a motion.
Seconded.
Actually, I'm looking for a second. There we go. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, and then we're gonna approve the minutes from December 2.
Just to let everyone know in this section, if you just say consent agenda, it approves everything in section 2.
That's great. So do we want to do that now, or do we want to go through the rest of this? Just say consent agenda. We're going to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I look for a second?
And
Okay.
a second.
All right. Sorry, guys. Looks like we have the consent agenda then. If everybody says aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're on to presentations.
Okay, for the first item, the Perseverance and Autumn Meadows Park update. So just to bring this body up to date on that. So Public Works staff has done a good job finishing up Perseverance Park. So they put additional material down. They have the sign ordered where it's gonna mirror the signs at the recently renovated parks. And also new sidewalk was poured to get rid of that car ramp, because that was actually allowing folks that shouldn't be trying to park in there to drive their cars on the park lot. So new sidewalk that you can't drive over has been installed over there. Now since that time, as you all may recall at past meetings, the city, got a petition from the Autumn Meadows Homeowners Association where they didn't want to own their infrastructure anymore, and the HOA can do that where they pay the city to do a study that essentially assesses the cost of what it would be to bring stuff up to city standard, and then the HOA board, if they agree with it, they can essentially give whatever money they have, and then the remainder of it is charged to the homeowners in that HOA via a local improvement district. So Autumn Meadows, they agreed that they didn't want to own anything in there anymore. So they followed the whole process, and earlier this month, council finally signed off on everything. So what that means is that that park that is immediately below the Perseverance Park, and various pictures are attached for you all to take a look at, because it's a little bit hard to glean how that area looks by a map, just because the elevation is quite different between Perseverance Park and Autumn Meadows Park. But we do now own Autumn Meadows Park. There is money in this year's budget to essentially hire an engineer, landscape architect to figure out what that park is gonna be. Thing is, we have to write up the RSQ, so I need to know essentially what I'm writing it up for. So I want to throw it out to this body. If there's any specific assets or things you want in the Autumn Meadows Park property. Right now, it basically has a wooden swing set and then a wooden gazebo. There is some city right away. When you look in the pictures, there's a fence currently blocking it. But the city does own the hillside, so hypothetically, you could link Perseverance Park and the Autumn Meadows Park. But I just want to throw it out to this body, if there's certain assets or things you want me to write in the RFP as we get this engineer landscape architect on board for the Autumn Meadows Park. Thoughts?
This is Jenna.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that really the place with the slope, right, Autumn Meadows, I believe, that's a tough site. And I know like Sled Hill has been brought up or things like that. But to me, like there's almost an opportunity for a garden that is actually built for seniors so that you can access it at like a waist height level rather than bending down. I mean, it's kind of, I've visioned, like I have this sort of idea of sort of a terrace situation. Obviously maintenance of gardens is an issue, but to me, it kind of lent itself. I mean, you know, amphitheater is sort of out in my mind because just all of the other properties around it, there's really no way to visually improve them. So that was just kind of one of the thoughts that has come to me as far as, and almost, you know, linking it with kind of the theme of accessibility. If it's available for veteran or for seniors, it's also, you know, possibly an accessible type garden. But those have just been my thoughts around that space. But I know a designer can come up with something better, but it's a hard asset to try to figure out. But that's in my mind, because of all of the sort of older citizens in the neighborhood, there could be an opportunity there to have a community garden that's designed for those that can't bend down. So, those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Those are good thoughts. You know, the terrain is both an obstacle and an opportunity, it seems to me. There, I think, could be really interesting things done that incorporate the view and maybe wheelchair accessible sidewalks or pathways that could go through there. But the garden thing, the growing thing, it seems ideally suited to the south sort of facing slope that we have there. What are you looking for from us, Mike, over and above just sort of being informed about what's happening?
Basically, I was looking how to write it because I mean, when you hire these consultants, they can tend to go to town and stuff and go well beyond what any of us would want or have the fiscal capacity to do. So I wanted to hone whoever, when I write this thing, I want to hone them in on realistic stuff that essentially this this board would want. So that way we actually get a good end result we could implement, because what I'm trying to do here is that after we hire the engineer and we get a plan done, the plan would be to come back in a year or two to the state and then write a grant and essentially get them to underwrite most of the improvements on it, because the way that code works when a subdivision HOA wants to get rid of their infrastructure is that they need to give the funds to essentially bring it up to city standards. So that basically means a plan and then replacing any of the stuff that doesn't meet essentially park standards that the state has. So basically like that swing set upgrade and that stuff like that. But above that, there isn't like money to go over and beyond. So the plan was when we get, I want them to frame something where then I can go to the state and then get additional monies to really bring that area to the next level. And I do think there is a potential way of connecting the Perseverance Park and the Autumn Meadows Park.
So maybe if we sort of get sort of a sentiment, or I don't know, maybe this goes back to the designers. If you're trying to figure out whether we're going to link the two parks, but to me it makes sense, but maybe that could be one of the design objectives, is to see if from a design standpoint there's something that the designers can do to make this all linked together. But are there other items other than the swing set area that need to be upgraded?
Really, it's
That's
a
pretty much.
It's a swing set area, the gazebo that meets state standard. The one thing, other thing we'll likely need to do is repair, there's like a railroad tie wall that's on the east side of the property, and it looks like some of that is going in. So we did get money from the HOA taking that into account. So that's likely going to either have to be reinforced or redone. That'll be dependent upon what the engineer says. And then there's minor amounts of the grass areas, I would imagine, investigating if the irrigation is proper or not, and if there's any active sports or anything that you all would want to see on it. But otherwise, beyond that, I could take what's been talked about so far and then throw that in the RFP. And then the next meeting, we can actually start the iterative process with who we hire.
Well, I don't want to over comment on this, but I would say the garden idea is great. Another thing I could see, because of the terrain, would be some sort of like a walking circuit that would involve uphill and downhill. That it could be sort of an area where people could come to exercise, use that hill to their exercising advantage, and also maybe have it weave through areas that there are things that are growing. That would be a potential suggestion. So there's activity that could happen there. And then of course the view, places to stop and sort of enjoy that. And I think we started with that with the bench on the hill, and then places to, you know, get water and have water for your dog or whatever. Seems like good things for a small park like this. Are there other suggestions or things that we can provide to Mike as he's kind of talking with designers? Well, it sounds like we're ready to move on to the next thing, Mike.
Hey, sounds good. So Lions Park update, I just want to make sure you're all up to date on everything here. So currently, the design and all of the associated documents are in the SEPA review comment stage, because we have to do environmental permitting since some of the state grants are actually passed through federal money. So the comments from public and from agencies are due January 31st. And really, this is all in the trajectory that we are trying to get this thing ready to bid out in the springtime, probably around later March. So that way we have the full summer to construct it. So that's pretty much the pathway as of right now on that. The one other thing, the one other thing to let this body be made aware of, and we're waiting for the state to approve the appropriations, but it sounds like we are going to get some safe routes to school grant money to build some sidewalks, and those sidewalks are going to go essentially down Central Avenue, Birch from 12th to 8th, and then 8th from Birch over to Larch, with a rapid flashing beacon at Larch and 8th. So likely once that money is cut loose, which will be when the state approves their budget later this spring, at the same time the park's going on, we should likely be able to start on engineering and actually have a decent pedestrian linkage going to the west, because right now that's lacking at the moment. But that's pretty much update on that. The one thing I want you all to think about for the next meeting is we are going to be engaging with the same designer that does like the other signs around the park, and the sign for Lions Park. We want to do a tagline again, similar to like what we did at Kiwanis Park. So Kiwanis Park, the language underneath that says like a place to play. For the next meeting, please think about ideas for what the tagline could be for the sign for Lions Park. But that's pretty much the update I have right now on this.
Right. So, Mike, I was curious. That sounds like construction then could start or is planned to start this summer, this coming summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, great. Thank you for that. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, let's move to
Yeah, sorry, this is Jenna.
Oh, go ahead.
Just
ahead.
real quick, how many characters or words for a tagline? What is your limit?
For tagline, typically you can fit a, depending on like size that you usually can do around like 20 to 24 characters max. That's about the limit. Less is better, but you can fit a lot. The designer's good at that.
Okay, I'm good at really corny things like this, so I'll have some ideas for the next meeting.
Good, because I'm not, so.
You know, it might be helpful to have some, I don't know, I don't have a photo or a picture in my brain in mind of what's at Kiwanis, but it's if we have other things that we're sort of trying to coordinate with, create a set of ideas that are cohesive from one park to the next. It'd be nice to see that. I suppose I could run over there and have a look too, but if any of that's available, maybe put it in the next set of notes as we're on our run up to it.
For sure.
Okay, so we're any other questions, comments?
The one other thing I will add, is that naturally with it going under construction this summer, the farmer's market won't be at Lions Park this summer because there'll be a lot of bulldozers and stuff going through there. So that isn't really conducive to having a farmer's market. So likely it's going to be in a city hall parking lot. We are evaluating some other areas, but right now there is a survey the community can take that's online. It's been shared through social media about like if there's different times that work better or different sites or what have you. Because this year will be out of sequence year with Lions Park really being closed up, but then it'll be back next year at the normal site.
Does it make any sense to do this at another park like Kiwanis? Or I mean, it seemed like there were a lot of sort of there was concern over it being super hot at City Hall. I'd hate for the farmers market to lose momentum.
The big issue with Kiwanis Park is we don't have appropriate electrical out there, which we actually need. So that's the big hindrance at the moment on Kiwanis Park, and then also with the amount of traffic going in and out of Davis School, because when the farmers market essentially starts and near the end of the season, they still have a lot of activities and stuff, and parking's already tight. That's a very narrow park. So we do have concerns about moving it there because the electrical isn't there. I am trying to talk to some others to see if there's other areas or ways of doing it. But yeah, please everyone fill out the survey and that'll guide us and share it with your friends.
I wonder if the university has some space available that it might work better in. I don't know, but power infrastructure is a big deal, I know.
I've already have sent emails. I haven't gotten responses yet on it about the old Rogers site. The issue I know over there is minor electrical. I'm not sure to what extent. But I've sent a couple of requests over there and I've not, to let this body know, I've not heard anything yet.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I'll make a couple of inquiries on too, just to kind of see what the sentiment is. If I get any information, I'll let you know.
That would be great.
Okay, so let's move on to the next item then. Veterans Park.
Yep, so just to update this body, the Recreation Conservation Office, they released the next tranche of the grant funds, and naturally they don't send out the official agreements until after the state appropriates the money for the following biennium. But we are on the list to get the grant we applied for to put in some additional amenities over at Veterans Park and the Homestead subdivision. And this aligns with the survey we sent out a while back to the homeowners out there. So depending on the state appropriating what they're supposed to, really, I would expect a grant agreement on this to be sent out this fall. And then at that point, we can do the additional engineering, and then the construction on this would likely follow us wrapping up Lions Park. So this would be more so in 2024 and 2025, but it's good to we're getting a significant amount of funds to bring up Veterans Park to the level that a lot of our other parks are. Questions?
I think we're good to move to the next one.
Okay. Okay, so this one is very unique. So we have property on Southeast Maple. Originally, we were holding on to it to build our new drinking water well. Because as you know, we were going through water woes for years where we were basically dependent on a well and a half. Now we have the well operating on Pepper's Bridge and we're wrapping up the one on Maple. What has occurred though is there's actually some land left over. However, it's encumbered land because when you build a new well house, essentially you have to build drainage in case for some reason it ever overflowed. So there is essentially like a little rocky like culvert outcrop that goes from the new well site to the ditch on the south side of Whitman Drive. So we have land that has this drainage conveyance now across that's just shy of about half an acre. If you look at the map of the surrounding area in the past comprehensive plans, that was an area of town that was earmarked as being underparked. So it's not like we can get rid of this remaining property for like affordable housing or something because it has like a drainage thing across it. But you don't have to decide now, but I just want to pose it to this body. Do we want to make that as a park or what are your thoughts? Because basically we're stuck with it pretty much. So I'm trying to figure out how to repurpose it. It's the northern third of the site that the new well is on. And if you go out there, you'll see it. It's right at the corner of Maple and Whitman, the southwest corner. And right now, per the well contract, it was basically hydro seeded. But that's the extent of it, but it's just barren, the land to the north of the new well.
So Mike, I'm looking at the map, the site map
Yeah.
picture, and
Yeah.
I'm curious. There's land to the south of that lot. Is that part of what the city has, or is that just someone else's property?
So the land that's outside, that's to the south of the orange, the area that I highlighted, that's actually where the new well is at. So that's actually
I got you.
yes, and because of like homeland security stuff, we have to like fence it in with gates and stuff. So that's why it's not shown. So there's a fairly large black fence that was put up as part of the grant agreement for well number 6. So there is city operations to the immediate south of that half acre, because that's where the new well is at.
Okay, well, just thinking of how that might be integrated, because the space seems like kind of a constraint.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Seems like
we could, I was gonna say we could always keep it just as grass too, but I mean, somewhat empty land around here is like at a premium, at least that the city owns. So I just wanted to pose the opportunity if this board thought that was a good idea to do something more with it.
it seems like an awkward spot,
Yeah.
but so does the parklet on 12th. So I don't know. What are the thoughts?
So I'm curious, so residential is mostly what's planned for this area, but is there any, like, is commercial across from Home Depot, like that's a possibility, right? Is this going to be sort of a mixed neighborhood where you have some shops, or is all of that eventually going to be residential?
It's gonna be a mix, so the way it stands right now, and to let the spotty, because for a while. We were deeply concerned if the apartment complex was actually gonna happen, because they went radio silent for a couple of years. And they have come back, they're gonna be redoing their plans, because they're gonna change the makeup of the apartments, and it'll go through a process again. But those apartments will be occurring, that'll be on the western third of that vacant property, but the eastern 2/3 of the property. So basically, if you were to draw a line going like DCO, like if it kept going across Whitman all the way over to Myra, that is zoned commercial. So that would be commercial. And as of right now, there are some very interesting big box leads for that front part that are doing due diligence on it, so it will be like a mixed area.
Other comments?
So I just have one quick question. I'm looking at the map, and so parking, if we were to make that a park, would have to be on street. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, that's correct. That part of Maple, you don't really have anyone. I mean, we have parking available on both sides, and no one parks there because you have the two 500,000 gallon water tanks the city has are over on the east side, and then you have our well on the west side. So I mean, the road's there, but no one really parks on that portion.
Another question, on any of our sort of planned parks, do we have anything for the kind of bike enthusiasts, like skate park in our community? I mean, I know that there's an active one at, obviously at Fort Walla Walla, but is there anything that we're planning?
For that, actually, no. So that is actually a gap within our park network. All the stuff that has been in the planning stages has been more along the lines of either walking path with like circuit training equipment, the multi-use field that's gonna go in at Lions Park, and then basketball and pickle ball. But there's nothing in that vein in any of the plans at the other parks.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation. I mean, just because it's definitely, it creates activity in the space, and it helps, give kind of that middle school to high school students something to do. I could even see something like a art wall, or some like a space that's really more driven towards an older youth audience. So it's not adjacent to schools. Would be kind of a new thing. And I mean, it's kind of cool. You got the coffee shop right there, and maybe it makes it more of a mixed family commercial area, but fun. It's always fun to play with their land.
All right. I don't know, Mike, have you gotten what you want?
Yeah. So I mean, pretty much, what'll occur, I think, is the company we hire to do the design over at the Autumn Meadows Park. I think we have some discretionary money out of city funds, or maybe I'll have them see if something along what Jenna was suggesting could fit decently within this property and Maple. And then if it does, then this will come back to this body, and then you can make really a decision. Because if we do make this as a park, that really needs to be a formal action of this board, but it probably makes sense first to see if anything could fit on it. So when we have that, it'll come back to this body, and then you could make that informed decision of whether it should be a park or not. Because either way, with this property, we're stuck with it because of the drainage conveyance.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, let's move on then to action items. Tell us about it, the community
Yeah.
grants.
Yeah, so this year we got a lot more grant applications. As you all may recall, in years past, we would have various agencies or folks communicate with the city about needs and wants, and then there were a lot of one-off conversations for money. And that isn't really fair to folks who like maybe don't know people. So what we did is we have created this program very similar to what Ellensburg does, where every year at the beginning of the year, if there's some room left over in the budget, we put current expense funds in it, and then we do a call for projects that essentially help with community development, outreach, events, public art. It could be just about anything. The nonprofits or community groups can essentially put in applications. Now the applications have come in. Last year we only got 4. This year it doubled to 8. There's 15,000 is split. And how these are graded is that we usually have a ad hoc committee. It has a person from Park Board, Economic Development Commission, and then the Utilities Board and Youth Commission, and then they grade them independently. Then we have a Zoom meeting to essentially go over the scores. I'll aggregate from the scores I received from everyone, and then they all go to council, and then they'll make the awards based on that. So with that, I was wanting a motion for someone base, and you can pick among yourselves, but we need a representative from Park Board to essentially grade the applications. So does anyone want to help?
I think Jim
I'm happy to
Fry
help.
sounds like an ideal candidate, and since he's not here too.
This is Jenna, and I will volunteer. So we don't voluntold Mr. Fry.
Thank you. Can I have a vote on this? Just because since we are awarding funds, I think it's important.
Okay, so our someone want to make a motion?
I make a motion
would-
that Jenna Bicknell is our representative for the grant. Is that what we need?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Yes, I do. I've got one right here. I second it. All right, then let's everybody in favor say aye.
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 You know what? I'm not gonna volunteer.
I abstain, whichever I have to say.
Abstain probably, yeah.
Because I have a 11 o'clock meeting, a 12:30 meeting, and that means that from 1:30 to 3 is like kind of my.
Okay.
Work.
So you have what you need there, Mike?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so let's that looks like there's no reports. So our next meeting schedule is March 24. I guess we don't have one in February.
No.
Okay. Well, unless there's anything else, let's close the meeting and conclude what we're doing here. So
I'll make a
Is there
motion
any-
to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.